Right, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all doing well. Right, little bit confused today because my mic that I bought, um, and never really used, maybe once or twice, is not working with my latest Mac setup. So I'm back using my headset. So I was faffing around with that, but anyway, we've got better things to be talking about than Chinese-made tech. Let's move on to the first very important video. Now, let me bring it up before I play it.
The tech mafia.
So this lady's name, anyway, she was married to one of the Google founders. Okay. It's very important you listen to this. I'm not sure that she wanted to say this information or she accidentally said it. Knowing how women are very clever with what they say and how they say it, I'm assuming she's dropping the whole big tech industry in it. It's very interesting and very important that everybody hears this.
Many of the tech mafia wives realize is that they were used to set the groundwork for what was called like the reset, what is called generally as like the reset by the Klaus Schwabs.
Like the Great Reset.
The Great Reset. Yeah. They openly talk about this Great Reset.
Yeah.
So the tech wife mafias, I believe, were kind of being conscripted in many ways, and their money especially was being conscripted in to set the groundwork for the Great Reset.
Yeah. Specifically through
a network of NGO advisors, relationship with Hollywood, relationship with Davos, and their own companies. So if you look at like who's on these boards, who hangs out with each other, how the culture of tech wealth works, like Silicon Valley tech wealth, and that small group of people responsible for a huge amount of money and a huge amount of NGO activity across the United States. It's a really small group of people, and it's a really small group of people making these decisions.
Yeah.
And then completely blind to everything else that's going on and how their groundwork is being used to then enable these other policies, these great reset policies.
So before we continue with that video, I'm going to share exactly who this lady is. So her name is Nicole Shannon. If we go over to here, Nicole Ann Shannon is an American attorney and entrepreneur. She was running mate of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in his 2024 presidential campaign. Okay. Her spouse, up until she's divorced now, 2023, is Sergey Brin, if that's how you pronounce it. Sergey Brin is an American computer scientist and businessman who co-founded Google with Larry Page. He was the president of Google's parent company, Alphabet Inc., until stepping down from the role in December the 3rd, 2019. So that's who she is, and
Shanahan is the
and we're going to continue with that video. Let's just skip forward and just get straight to it.
Many of the tech mafia wives realize is that they were used to set the groundwork for what was called like the reset, what is called generally as like the reset by the Klaus Schwabs.
Like the Great Reset.
The Great Reset. Yeah. They openly talk about this Great Reset.
Yeah.
So the tech wife mafias, I believe, were kind of being conscripted in many ways, and their money especially was being conscripted in to set the groundwork for the Great Reset.
Yeah. Specifically through.
Specifically through a network of NGO advisors.
So like Hope Not Hate, funded by George Soros.
Relationship with Hollywood, relationship with Davos, and their own companies.
So the entire Bilderberg community.
So if you look at like who's on these boards, who hangs out with each other, how the culture of tech wealth works, like
Satanic.
Silicon Valley tech wealth, and that small group of people responsible for a huge amount of money and a huge amount of NGO activity across the United States. It's a really small group of people, and it's a really small group of people making these decisions.
Yeah.
And then completely blind to everything else that's going on and how their groundwork is being used to then enable these other policies, these Great Reset policies. Now, what this group of women doesn't realize is that in their haste, these women are all very busy.
Yeah.
They have multiple properties. They have tons of staff. They have staff issues, chronic staff issues. Their kids are busy. Their kids oftentimes have some health issues as well. A lot of them have relationship issues.
Well, if the kids have health issues, that'll be the vaccines more times than not, in my opinion.
Issues with their husbands. And a lot of them themselves are like medicated on SSRIs and antidepressants and all of that because it's just overwhelming.
Yeah.
So,
Overwhelming. Being a wife of a billionaire. Really?
so
Well, I suppose to some degree I can see that happening.
it's chaos, and these women find their meaning through their philanthropic work.
Yeah.
And they find themselves, like I would find myself, that was my self-worth, was my philanthropic work, and I really believed in it.
Well, I used to think my business and my abilities was my self-worth until I realised it's not. It's what I contribute to society and what I do towards helping God achieve his objectives. And when you understand that, and I know I'm butchering that slightly, when you actually understand that, your self-worth in a non-egotistical level goes off the charts. You realise just how pivotal your life is, because when God is using your life, and I see and I meet a lot of people who I can see God is working through, you start doing some amazing things, far better than just being a partner of a billionaire, put it that way.
I really believe that I was giving Black communities a chance to like rise up out of oppression. I really believe that I was helping Indigenous communities rise up out of oppression. And now that I look back and see how all those grants are performing, because my version of success is those communities are actually uplifted.
Yeah. Not just more money pumped into them.
Not just more money. No, the problems of the community have gotten worse. Crime in the community has gotten worse. Mental health in the Native community, the Indigenous community, has gotten worse. They will even say, the Indigenous community will even say that their biggest supporters in Congress have been Republicans, but yet they continue to vote Democrat.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that is this, it's like the whole model is broken. The whole model makes everybody worse off. And now we're contending with the frickin' Great Reset that we're now realizing is a terrible idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that many of our climate change issues are geoengineering issues.
Absolutely they are.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is like, at the end of the day, they always go to that. They're like, but climate change. And then,
Yeah,
and
that
was
really
like,
is the end all be all. Like, you have to let us do this because of climate change.
And I've said a million times before, now that climate change has been exposed as being a fake, whether it's chemtrails, stratospheric aerosol injection, or whether they are using bogus tests to say animals are suffering and giving them poison to stop making them release gas and all that other stuff. Now that is getting exposed, this entire global satanic cult is being exposed and it's being taken down. They're not all powerful, put it that way.
Yeah. Social justice and climate change, it always boils down to those two things, and it gets progressive women 100% of the time.
It does. It does.
So you got these billionaire women,
So actually, let's listen to Alex Jones, what he has to say about it.
very smart, and she's talking about Laurene Powell. That's Steve Jobs' widow that owns the Atlantic or funds it. There she is with Ghislaine Maxwell dozens and dozens of times, reportedly at Zorro Ranch and at the Caribbean island, all of it.
£10 of sugar in a £5 bag.
That's who these people are. And you've got Nicole Shanahan breaking with all this during COVID, going public and blowing the whistle about their plan, and how, these women get billions and billions of dollars from their husbands because they're married to them and they get co-ownership, and then they put it into, they think, saving the earth. Meanwhile, the geoengineering is destroying the earth. So they got a big problem. And I can tell you, and I'll just leave it at that, that I talked to quite a few of these women. I have been reached out to by a lot of the former wives and even current wives of tech billionaires. And they call them and say, well, you're the guy that first knew about this. What do I do? And I'm like, you do whatever you think's best. I mean, divorce them, go public. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to get in the middle of your life.
Well, that looks more like a man, but that's just an opinion.
But imagine the horror of Sergey Brin, who is an anti-human globalist, literal transhumanist, and there's his smart, gorgeous former wife literally exposing the whole thing. I mean, this is how much trouble they're in, people. And imagine their security forces hate them even more than their wives do. And
All right, well, that's a good place to leave that video. Let's move on to the next one, which is just as important. I haven't watched it entirely. I thought we'll all watch it together, so let's proceed with that. Just got to forward it a little bit.
Tired of bloating, fatigue and sleep.
Okay. Let's go.
This is something that in certain countries, China being the major one, is already in. You can see exactly what that means for people. It means essentially an end to freedom. And it's coming to the UK under this government, according to this story, or they're going to try and bring it. That's the key word. Resistance isn't futile. They're going to try. Doesn't mean they're going to succeed. They only succeed if we acquiesce. But imagine every village, every town, every city in Britain, where every step you take is watched. Sting will be pleased. Every face you pass is scanned and matched with passport photos. Add on to that digital identification, which would probably replace passports because, they'd essentially be doubling up.
Now, I want you guys all to know something. I'm actually quite advanced in my knowledge of digital ID, digital money, and all things digital. Now, even as far back as when I co-launched the social media app, Speakers Corner Online, I told people at the time that WhatsApp was tracking and reading everything. Remember I said that? So many people said, no, it's not true. Now WhatsApp have declared themselves that they will be tracking even direct DMs. They've always been able to do it. How do I know that? Because top level coders told me this. They showed me this. I saw the APIs working within it. I wasn't making it up. And that is pretty much the strategy of everything that these Satanists kind of operate with. They tell you one thing to do another, and then slowly, when something is being used and utilized by people, then they start changing the T's and C's. In Speakers Corner Online, there was a live streaming system built in. Now, when that was outsourced, not by our core developers, but by third-party developers who then came in and worked with us, and I managed that section. Now, when that actual system was not built by Speakers Corner Online, it was a third-party software that was integrated into Speakers Corner Online. And when that integration happened, the chap who designed it personally handled the integration, and every single possibility of that software, live streaming software for Speakers Online, was integrated and made live. That was the only way to do it. So for a short period of time, everything that software could do through a browser was activated. And so we launched it, so we wanted to test it, and for a short time everything was live. And this was one of the things that you could do on there. You could host a live stream on that software, and you could also turn on the camera on and off of anybody else that was participating in your live stream. Now, I was thinking, that is crazy, right? And we wanted that off, but unfortunately the way the software was, there was no easy way of doing it. So for a certain period of time, these things had to be active, but eventually we got it switched off, and not even the admin or the admin of Speakers Corner Online could actually activate that. But that made me thinking. I remember somebody from Speakers Corner who used to, when everybody used to use the software, what was it, Google Meets, it was Raspect. He would join the panel, because everybody used to do live stream through Google Meets. He used to join the panel through Google Meets, and he used to install some specialist package software on the live stream on that particular Google Meet, and that would allow him to turn on people's camera. Remember, he managed to do that to a lot of people. He tried to do it on one of my live streams, but he got kicked out for even attempting it. So this type of capability has been around for a long time, and I've definitely been aware of it. And now, with my understanding of crypto and digital ID and all these other things being at a super advanced level, and I can see exactly where things are going, I get the right news reports, I'm able to cross-reference that. I can tell you right now, some of these cryptocurrencies, i.e. stable coins, mentioning no names, they will be able to set, this is going to sound bizarre, I'm telling you, but it's true, they will be able to set a expiry date on the crypto. So in other words, if you get paid, let's just say £3,000 worth of, your salary is equivalent to £3,000, say you get that in the digital pound, they will have, or they could apply, and no doubt they will, otherwise they wouldn't have built it in, a expiry date that you have to spend that money within a certain time period. In other words, they are going to do away with your ability to save. I don't know why, I don't know the reasons why, I can only guess, but that stuff is built in. And facial recognition is already a big thing. People don't realize, the average British citizen does not realize that facial recognition is already a big part of UK society. Every single migrant, whether here legally or not, has their facial recognition details already stored. In fact, if they're Indian migrants, they have everything biometric stored, so their fingerprints, their eye scan, and their facial biometrics, the whole 9 yards. Right, so the only people left in the UK to be forced into digital ID are those of us. In fact, it's those people who don't own a business, because they have implemented rules and regulations. You cannot even submit your business accounts unless you sign up to digital ID. But anyway, let's continue with this video.
Police across Britain could be granted access to the National Passport database as part of a wide-ranging plan
They already have that.
to expand facial recognition technology across every city, town and village across the country. Under Labour's proposals, officers would be able to match images of suspects caught on CCTV, doorbell cameras and dash cams with photographs contained in government databases, including the 45 million passport records currently held by the state, as well as immigration files. Now, they say this will obviously prevent crime, this will make the streets safer, this will make everybody sleep a little bit better, knowing that things are much more under control. Well,
Even though paedophiles walk free and allowed to get away with anything, including Muslim grooming gangs, but they're going to ignore that.
it's very simple for me. Freedom is the ability to be free. If you don't have that, if you don't have that basic right, whether that be the freedom of speech, the freedom to express yourself in the way you choose, then you've lost it. You've lost that freedom. You've lost that basic right.
Absolutely. And God has given us freedom. God has given us free speech. And the fact that they're trying to take it away is deplorable. That's why it's very important for people to understand and accept the Bible, because you can call upon the power that's in the Bible. You can call upon the knowledge that's in the Bible. If you can quote the Bible, you can do so many things legally, especially in the UK and Europe, since the system is built on biblical law.
We've already seen the attacks on freedom of speech in the UK and people being arrested and spending times in jail for using certain language, for not using certain language, for saying silly things on Facebook, which were probably silly things to say, but there was no real world harm. Yet people at the same time are being released early from prison when they've committed actual violent crimes. People have been released on accident that have committed actual violent crimes.
Yes, I think he was moving back to Africa. I doubt it he went. I'm sure he enjoys the luxuries of the Western world too much, but you never know. If you find out, let me know. We'll do a show on it.
So we've already seen the attacks on freedom of speech. And now we're going to see the attacks on freedom of movement, freedom of everything. They don't want that. You know, they want to track you every single second of your life.
Absolutely, they do.
Every single day, everything you do, every time you walk down the street, every time you go into a shop, every time your kids go into school, every time you drive your car.
Paedophiles tracking children. What could go wrong?
They want to know what you're doing. They want to know what you're wearing. All of it. They will know all this information. Now, some people will look and go, well, the streets aren't safe. You know, we've got a growing crime problem. There's there's more burglaries, there's more break-ins, there's more violent crime, there's more stabbings, there's more mugging, all of these things. And yeah, you're right, there is. And they will obviously use that as a sales pitch for why this technology is needed and how this is going to make the streets safer, how this is going to make everybody sleep a little bit better at night.
So, Open Your Eyes UK. Hello, mate. So, my theory, as I'm sure you may have heard me say this before, my theory is that this whole agenda of letting criminals out, allowing criminals to get away scot-free or with minimal sentence, not attending the right type of crimes, making these so-called human errors, even though we know they're not human errors, they're purposeful strategies. All these things are geared to create public criticism towards the system. And then their answer, in my eyes, will be that we can give the last say-so or the ultimate authority to AI, because AI will only follow the rules, and as a consequence, nothing can go wrong. And people, especially the youngsters, because they've done the surveys, have already agreed that they are happy for AI to take control. So if you're sending your kids to school, they're brainwashing them to stand in line, right? So they're all going to already say yes because they think technology is everything. You know, that shiny iPhone that you waved in front of them when they were still in their prams, well, they've grown up thinking that iPhone or that Android phone is their God. It's the best entertainment ever. Whoever made it must be God, and therefore God should be given the ultimate AI power. They don't understand that whoever created and coded and taught the AI system is the ultimate authority. Everybody should really take some time out and get to know how they code and teach AI systems. I run an AI system on my own machine, so I get to know the AI system very, very well. Most people only get to see ChatGPT or Gemini or even the AI on WhatsApp. AI goes far more deeper than that. Far more deeper than that.
But what it's actually going to do is it's going to give all of your data and all of your freedom to the hands of a bunch of corrupt criminals who have done nothing but abuse the power that we have given to them for millennia, really, when you look at authority, but certainly in the last couple of years with this particular Labour government and previous ones. They have done nothing but abuse that power.
Yeah, amen to that.
They don't have any consideration or care for the people they are meant to represent. So knowing that, why do you think this technology would be in our interests? It's not going to be in our interests. It's in their interests.
Absolutely.
They only do things which are in their interests and the cult's agenda's interests.
I like this guy. He's talking sense.
If they're trying to sell you something, the sales pitch they are using is exactly that, a sales pitch. It's not the real reason. It's the story that they think they can sell that will get you to say yes.
Absolutely. Remember all that kerfuffle? They said, we are introducing a 5p tax on all carrier bags, and it's only 5p, and it's to stop people buying carrier bags and the carrier bags ending up in oceans. Did people stop buying carrier bags? Nope. Few did. Did it stay at 5p? No. Waitrose sells their carrier bag £1.50. Tesco, Sainsbury's 50p each. At first, the carrier bags were massive. You could get a fair bit in them. Now, they've shrunk the carrier bags because they know people will have to buy more. And this is how they trap people, because people are just so busy. They're so ingrained in what's on TV tonight, or whether their team's going to win, or, you know, I've got to get up and go to work in the morning. And I understand that. I completely understand that. And I don't like doing a Raj or a Banksy where I'm just continuously pointing out issues that I see, because that's low IQ in itself. I would much rather point out the issue and have a solution. And my solution is that if we are going to continue down this road where once we vote for politicians, we then want to go to sleep and hope that we have voted for the right person. Never going to happen, by the way. You'll never vote for the right person because the entire system is corrupt. And even if a half-decent human being gets into power, guess what? They'll do a U-turn like they all do. So my solution is, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, we need to vote for the one politician, and there's not one at the moment, not one politician that states that they shall keep their pre-election promise, and if they don't, they are happy to be prosecuted. Because if you make pre-election promises and then state that I will be waiving my parliamentary privilege in order to enforce my election promises, you don't really have a job, do you? Because you've done the job before you even got elected. All you have to do now is make sure everything is done. Think about it. The entire process of your existence as a Prime Minister or as a Member of Parliament or whatever is to honour the words you say before. Just let me know if you come across a politician that's willing to do that. Zero.
It's not the story that's the actual truth behind why they are rolling something out. You can apply that to, well, pretty much everything. The budget, we're being sold the story that this is bringing children out of poverty, pulling on the heartstrings of people that obviously most people naturally would not want children to grow up in poverty. But that's not what this is about. This is actually about creating more poverty, because more and more people that are just about getting by at the moment are not going to be able to anymore. More and more small businesses that are functioning and just about scraping by week on week, month on month, they're not going to be able to anymore. And also it creates a divide, as I mentioned in the post-budget episode I did on Friday. It creates a massive divide between people on benefits and people not, who think they're paying for the people on benefits.
See, a lot of the problems start when people start feeling that they don't have enough money, so materialism, or they don't have the same opportunities. You know, they've made the wrong decisions when they were younger, or they weren't guided correctly by a parent or whatever. So, in my heart of hearts, I wish I had the ability that God does and just make everyone prosperous, everyone rich. Just to see from my own eyes, does that resolve a lot of the issues? Because if you listen to racists, half the time they're moaning and being racist for things that are economic, which is fair enough. However, I also think that if people were content with what they have, if everybody had at least an average home, a house that they owned, and they had a nice car and they had good income, that they would naturally work harder, they would be more loving, they would be more caring. And generally people are all those things anyway. But of course, the way the kingdom is, or way the planet, or way the world is created by God, you have to earn those things. You can't just expect them just by clicking your fingers. You have to earn them. So you have to pay the price before the award, as with anything, whether it's exams or whether it's a promotion. You have to earn the reward. I don't know. Would money solve all issues? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe. Anyway, let's move on.
There's more and more reasons that's done. You're sold a sales pitch that you can look at and go, okay, getting kids out of poverty, I support that. Of course I support that. So, you know, we'll get on with it. But it's not the reason. In the same way now, they're going to sell this, that all this crime, this jungle atmosphere that we have, particularly in the major city centres, that has to stop. And the best way to stop it is to create facial recognition technology so there's accountability and the chance of you getting caught for crimes goes up. That's the sales pitch they will use. It's not the reason they're doing it.
I like this guy. I promise to try to get more of his content on, but we do have other content that we need to watch. Very important content, in fact. So let's go through that. What, 1, 2, 3, 4 videos. That's very important. And maybe I'll share some information from other users on the Discord channel, which has been through some changes recently. Let's start off with this one.
Trained by the CIA, and
He's the CIA death squad.
He was in a death squad.
Yeah.
That they went out and committed atrocities, and he was a member of them since he was a kid. Since I think he was 15 years old for 10 years.
Right.
Now, how many months or years has it been that I've been saying that the globalists control Islam? This is what I mean. Think about it. Why is it that certain groups do the very thing that their enemies need in order to progress the agenda? Now, this guy who did the attack against the National Guard at the White House, is what's being discussed here is a CIA US military asset. Now, whether we discuss 9/11 and how those pilots were trained in America, and we We discuss anomalies even with things like the 7/7 and many other terrorist attacks. Why is it that the local secret service, whether it's MI5, MI6, CIA, Mossad, why is it that they are always involved and always in the background?
Yeah.
So they got
And
him
the
young.
story- yeah.
They had him traumatized because they had him commit all these atrocities. And if you know anything about the MK Ultra and how they mind control you, they use your trauma to do that. So you know that there was the tragedy of the two National Guards men that were shot by a crazy wackadoo. They say, right?
You have the jokes, by the way.
Crazy wackadoo. But guess what? Genghis Khan says, let me predict how this plays out. This is from September 8th.
Okay.
Okay? Let me predict how this plays out like the futurist I am. There will be a big gunfight. There will be infiltrators from the CIA/Mossad who will kill multiple National Guard. They will pose as gangbangers. They will be used as justification for martial law and disarmament. Whoa.
Yo, good luck with disarmament. I think that's a tall order.
Okay, so I just want everybody to sit down and buckle up because I don't want this to shock you.
Thank you.
But it turns out that the Afghan national who shot those National Guardsmen was a CIA asset.
No.
Bert, I know it sounds crazy. Come on.
Since when?
I know. Come on, mister. Everything is a conspiracy. So this is what happened. The judge halts Trump's deployment of National Guard in Washington, D.C. That was November 20th. Boom. 2 National Guardsmen injured in Washington, D.C. shooting November 26th. Wow. The timing's perfectly normal for this to happen just as the country wakes up to actual oligarch hand around the world's throat. Wow. So there it is.
Let me tell you something else that's, before I forget. Enjoy free speech and free information on the internet. As soon as digital ID is incorporated nationally, locally, or globally, YouTubers like this will disappear because they will not be able to afford to make YouTube videos sharing information like this. Enjoy it while you can.
Here is Genghis Khan goes on. He says, so here we have Pam Bondi confirming because the 2 National Guardsmen got shot in Washington, D.C., the Trump administration will be flooding as many American cities as possible with the military. Cities that have zero to do with the shooting. Are you awake yet? Let's listen.
Working hand in hand with Secretary Noem, Homeland Security. Director Patel has already arrested 500 suspected terrorists since January 20th. We're working hand in hand with Pete Hegseth. And yes, we are bringing in our National Guard to every city we possibly can. Who needs our help? And that's a lot of them. We're tied up, as you know, in a lot of court hearings right now. These young men and women in the Guard, they want to help our country. They want to be here. They are patriots, yet they will not be attacked by a radical Islamic terrorist who screams by reports, Ali Akbar, before shooting 2 of our Guard members and almost killing more.
Yeah, can you?
And I will say this, just like in the UK, Labour and Conservative are now a single party. You might believe and watch some of those parliamentary debates and think, oh, this new, opposition is going to be different. If you think that, then you're an idiot. And I would like to sell you, well, it doesn't matter what I'd like to sell you. It certainly wouldn't be what you think it is. So in America, it's no different. The Republican and the Democrat Party it's the same party. And there might be some shiny objects coming from the direction of Trump. But what actually has he changed? What really has he changed for the average person? And I know we're in a bit of a lull period where the strategies he implemented, such as the fees he's charging for imports, and that could mean that there's no income tax to pay for individuals in America. If that happens, then brilliant. But what has he actually really achieved, and why is he starting a war with Venezuela of all countries? Doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, Trump is either voluntarily agreeing to all this, or he's just not sharp enough to realize that he himself is being used to implement martial law. But I will say this: it was the Democrats who were announcing that he was going to introduce martial law. So maybe they are the ones that are controlling him. I don't know.
So there you have it. And here he is. That's the guy. By the way, did I reference Laurel and Hardy? I'm sorry, I meant Mo Howard and the Three Stooges. Because that's
what is it with that haircut in MK Ultra Mind Slaves, dude? What is it that the shooters have this bowl haircut? What is going on? Is that the bowl that they program you with, like Zoolander?
I'm surprised he didn't shoot his barber.
Yeah, that's what I've said about 3 shooters. There's 3 shooters I said that about, you know?
Hey, recent immigrants to America, how would you like to serve your... So this guy was trained by the CIA. And
He's in CIA death squad.
He was in a death squad.
Yeah.
That they went out and committed atrocities, and he was a member of them since he was a kid, since I think he was 15 years old, for 10 years.
That's right. Yeah.
So they got him young. They had him traumatized because they had him commit all these atrocities. And if you know anything about the MK Ultra and how they mind control you, they use your trauma to do that.
Well, you don't have to believe bad things about America, Jimmy. I'm not disloyal. Think of African child soldiers. They would make them kill people. They'd make them kill their parents and smile while they do it to break them. So don't think of it as a thing your good country did. Think of it as something Africans do. If that helps you get your head around the evil of what runs you.
Wow. Okay. Well, that was a bit sharp, wasn't it? But there you go. Yet another Islamic terrorist working with the local secret service, and that is not the only one, I can assure you. Now we are going to switch on to our good entertainment friend and informative person, Candace Owens. Everybody's going, hey! Let's see what she has to say, because some very interesting things have been happening.
Candace Owens says 2 days ago I was contacted by a high-ranking employee of the French government. After determining this person's position in proximity to the French couple, I have deemed the information they gave me to be credible enough to share publicly in the event that something happens. What? Well, what happened is, in short, the person claims that the Macrons have executed upon and paid for my assassination. What? Wait, what? Yes, you read that correctly. Did I read that correctly? Yes, you did. More specifically, that the green light was given to a small team in National Gendarmerie. How do you say that?
Right, so as this video playing, we already know what Candace has claimed. The actual discussion point is not Candace's claim. The discussion point is what is the likelihood that the French government will do this, right? And we're going to come back to this. In fact, this particular video is going to show you the history of the French government doing very similar things.
With multi-state involvement, journalist Xavier Poussaud's life is also at risk. This is deadly serious. So that's the guy who broke a lot of the stories about Macron's penis. This is deadly serious. The head of the state of France apparently wants us both dead and has authorized professional units to carry this out. I ask that every person retweet and share this. I do not know who in the American government can be trusted, since this source claims our leaders are aware, but I have more specific information which is definitely verifiable should they care to reach out to me. To the brave official in France who did this because they were so moved by the evil of Charlie's public execution to risk their own life, may God bless you truly. Let all be revealed.
Yeah. Well, let me reveal something to Candace. Don't trust John Mappin, Candace.
Okay, I don't know anything about that. That's so here's one. French intelligence agents charged an alleged murder plot. The Paris prosecutor's office.
Well, there you go. Here's more information, and it's not just any information source. This is Associated Press. If you don't know what Associated Press is, well, Associated Press and Reuters, Reuters, are the two main sources of news worldwide. So even though you think you are reading Daily Mail, or you are reading the Evening Standard, or you are reading The Guardian, 80% of the information and news comes from these two sources. These are global sources. Apparently, they are controlled by the Rothschilds. I don't know. I don't really care for that information for this conversation. But they are the trendsetters of what is discussed and what is not discussed. And yes, fair enough, they're not going to be worried about Mrs. Adams, who's won the lottery, who's located in Sheffield or anything. They're not bothered about those type of stories. That probably is a local news or a national news story. But we're talking about the main headline grabbing stories. They all come from Associated Press and Reuters News. And let me tell you something about Reuters. And even though this story is about Reuters, doesn't necessarily mean Associated Press is any better. Reuters was giving direct and live information faster to traders in a brokerage before they were releasing that information worldwide. So the whole point of a news organization is that in an old school fashion way, they are sharing information because it is in the public knowledge. Because when you have information, you are able to do things. So you're not supposed to prioritize the news in any way, in any fashion. It's supposed to be available to the masses, to everyone at the same time. But they were giving the latest news quicker to traders and a brokerage so they could execute trades. So that's pretty much how corrupt these people are. And if you don't believe me, that story can't be true. You can look it up.
Senate has filed preliminary attempted murder charges against two agents from France's Foreign Intelligence Agency over an alleged plan to kill a 54-year-old woman last month in the Créteil suburb of Paris. Yeah, there it is.
I bet you all think, it must be a one-off. It can't be. There can't be another example.
Alleged. I like how they say alleged. It was good enough to charge him. Here's another one. Hit squad of French secret agents hired for contract killings. That's right from the Times. 4 French intelligence agents have been arrested on suspicions of being in a hit squad hired for contract killings. There it is. The hit squad is also suspected of murdering a rally driver and trying to kill a union delegate.
Stop it. These two stories are bizarre stories. There's no way there's a third story whatsoever. This has to be made up. Oh, what do you know?
Go Brazilville plot shot dead in the Alps. Wow. It says it right there, the former French intelligence agent, the body of a former French intelligence agent linked to an assassination plot has been found riddled with bullets in a levee in the Alps. Police said the killing was a professional job, and a post-mortem revealed he had been shot 5 times. Okay. Well,
so I think you get the idea. There's plenty of evidence that this type of thing does go on. So of course, somebody said on the live stream the other day, it's such a stupid thing to say. The only way to find out that this is possible is that Candace has to die. I don't know who said it, and I don't really care, but come on. You've got to engage your brain a little bit.
This is what he had to say about Tatum. About Candace's latest a story about being targeted by the Macrons for assassination.
Then, brother, the American government, I don't care how much you don't like Candace, I don't care how much you've been trashing the American government and the FBI, they got to do something. And I'm going to tell you what they will do. It doesn't matter right, wrong, or indifferent. They have to investigate this. They have to investigate this. And I think that if it is found to be true and the proof prevails, which I'm convinced, after talking to Candace and the stuff that we talked about, I'm convinced, then that means that there should be dire consequences for the French government and whoever else was involved, the Macrons, whatever, dire consequences. I'm talking about the American government should go after them like never before.
Well, they won't do that if the American government is involved, or certainly members of the American government, because, like we said a few minutes ago, you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel with Trump. You know, he is doing some good. We know that, but we're just not sure about the people around him. Okay, so what is Jordan saying here? Jordan, can we please have your name changed from Open Your Eyes UK? First and foremost, there's about 79,000 different people with the exact same handle as your Open Your Eyes UK. Secondly, you can just do Jordan something. Jordan M. No, don't do Jordan M. They're going to think you're the Muslim. You're a Muslim convert. There's a Muslim convert called Jordan M. You have to change your name. I insist. I make you a logo. I'll get a designer to redesign your YouTube channel. I'll do all the hard work for you. Okay, so anyway, Jordan is saying money. Is that what the budget did the other day? Manipulated the market before the official budget release? Well, yes. I mean, how many times have we seen politicians and members of the cabinet and prime ministers move the markets? You see, I tried to discuss this very same thing to somebody in a business meeting, and I said scalping is a thing, and when you've got large amount of money, you can scalp the markets. What do I mean by that? You see, if you are an average person and you want to make money from, say, the UK 100, the FTSE 100, you would have to put in a few £1,000s and then wait and hold and pray that the price goes up and therefore you'll make some money. But when you have a lot of money behind you, like a lot of large brokerages, trading houses, banks and investment groups do, you don't have to do that. If you know for sure that the market will move a certain way, you can buy a large position, and all you need is for the market to go up by a few points, and you will make millions. So that is the type of thing that inside trading does. Now, there was a rather famous chairman of a football club recently, Tottenham Football Club, who did insider trading. In fact, his insider trading seemed quite nice from what I read, that he used his own laptop to make money for the pilot. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. That story certainly was nice, because a pilot just an average Joe. What does he know about trading markets? And how is he ever going to make hundreds of thousands or millions and stuff? But anyway, that's that. We're now moving on to the next video. It's Candace. Way! All the Candace haters are just melting in there. Oh, Manny, don't play her. All the Candace supporters saying, yeah. Anyway, who cares? Let's see what she has to say.
Give them my platform, as I always have made that offer to. So here is Blake Neff.
Ever since Charlie's murder, Candace Owens has leveled a flood of allegations against people at Turning Point USA.
Okay, so this gentleman here with the clean-shaven head, he is a leading member of a organization called Turning Point USA, which you probably remember as the company Charlie Kirk was the CEO of, a multi-million, if not billion-pound, multi-branched organization. Okay, it's a group. Now, obviously, we know that Candice was BFF with Charlie Kirk, and she has released information not just against members of Turning Point USA, but also the US government. We're going to get to the US government bit because they've responded as well, even though not in the way that we wanted, i.e. we wanted someone of significance to respond, but we'll get to that. But in the meantime, Turning Point USA have responded to the allegations made by Candice Owens. Let's listen to the review. I'm going to go on mute. If anybody wants to come on, no, I'm not going to bring anyone. You're just going to start talking baloney. The only person I'll have on is Jordan, actually. If Jordan wants to come on, I'm sure Jordan can message me, but I'm just going to go on mute. Let's just play for a little bit, and we'll see what Candice has to say as she rebukes whatever this chap's name is.
People at Turning Point Action and people who work for this show. She's made them against some of Charlie's closest friends and against some of his most dedicated employees.
Yes.
She has suggested that Michael McCoy, Charlie's chief of staff, knew Charlie would be murdered, was happy that he died, and stayed silent because he was told he would be the next Charlie. She has suggested Michael is not his real name. It is. I have seen his birth certificate myself. She has called it suspicious that Mikey's wife, who works at Turning Point, helped plan the campus tour event where Charlie was murdered, which she didn't, by the way. She doesn't work on campus events.
Okay, so first and foremost, I actually never said that she helped plan the event. I said it was suspicious that Mikey McCoy's wife, that we never found out who did plan the event, that was one of the answers that we wanted to know. And I said that she works in events, still was not clear on what happened. Regarding Mikey McCoy, I think the entire world believes that his actions are suspicious because we have eyes, and you don't get to wiggle out of that by pretending that us playing the words of his own father, Rob McCoy, who I think is highly suspicious in all of this. He has a suspicious background. We played his own words as he tried to sanitize someone who spent time in prison for being a sexual deviant, right? For trying to take photos of young girls. I don't think he's a good guy, and you're not going to make us forget those things because you are trying to pretend that Mikey's actions were totally normal that day. They weren't. That's why I didn't make the public feel that way, okay? I may have voiced how they felt, which everyone else is refusing to do, but I do believe that Mikey McCoy should have to answer for who he had on the phone right when the shot went off. So, yeah. His father, his own father, is the one that spoke about Charlie's notebooks and spoke about how Mikey McCoy was talented. And it was Mikey McCoy who then jumped on Liberty University's stage for an event that was scheduled for Charlie Kirk. So there you go. That's our perspective, and I'm going to stand by it. Let's keep it rolling.
Candice has suggested the Utah Valley University event was unusual, and its details suggested a, quote, inside job.
It was unusual. That's a fact. And you can quote me on that because I worked for Turning Point USA and I went on every tour since 2019. And typically those events are decided at least the semester before. This came together very quickly. It is unusual. And I don't know why you think that you are going to be able to disprove that notion when I have the emails to support that claim. Let's keep it rolling.
She has claimed that foreign aircraft have followed Erica Kirk around the country and that Turning Point has lied about this happening.
Definitely never said Turning Point lied because you never responded. So that doesn't actually make any sense. And this is why it's not good to have lawyers write things out because sometimes they're not so detail oriented. What we did was we showed at first that when I plotted these strange Egyptian jets that they were following Charlie. And that was a concern because I wondered if they were tracking Charlie. We then obviously realized that they were tracking TPUSA faith events, and that many more times they were following and perhaps tracking Erica. You should be concerned about that. We find it odd that rather than being concerned or trying to get answers to why a foreign military jet would be on the ground during a time when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, you're upset with us for asking questions about these jets. Let's keep rolling.
She has accused us of lying about Charlie wanting Erica to take over for him if he died.
Never happened. That is not a quotation. That is just them saying that. So let's keep rolling.
She has suggested Charlie's security team intentionally denied him first aid after the shooting to ensure that he died.
When you say suggested, it means that they are interpreting my words. What I said is another fact. They did not issue him first aid when he fell down. There was nobody who pulled out any gauze and tried to stop the bleeding. And they've admitted to that. In a sit down with Sean Ryan, Brian Harpole said it was because of the severity of the injury. I'm sorry again that we noticed something that stood out as unusual given the expertise and the amount of money that he was paying that supposed to be an elite team. Let's keep rolling.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's the entire public execution of Charlie Kirk is why his death is the hottest topic of discussion in the world right now, on the same level as Epstein, which makes you think, was this a diversion from the Epstein thing, right, in itself? But let's not digress. That whole public execution, there's so many blatant questions that needs to be asked. And you see, when you start asking them, all of a sudden you get these cockroaches from under the stones coming out and saying, why are you asking questions? Do you not know Candice is this? Or do you not know the governments would never do this? Or are you anti-Semite? Or are you this? It's like, I just want to get to the bottom of it. Because it was a public execution, they quite clearly wanted everyone to be traumatized from the experience of viewing his killing. Quite clearly, they could have killed him while he was buying a coffee from Costa or whatever the equivalent is in the USA, wherever he's from, right? So what you want us to stop thinking, put our stupid hat on, and just go with the official narrative. Even the official narrative doesn't make sense. It's pathetic.
She has raised suspicions about the head of our technical team because he took an SD card out of a camera.
But where's the footage? I'm not bothered if she thinks it's suspicious. I'm not bothered if he's taken it out. I want to see where that footage is. Where is it? He's got it because he's admitted he's got it.
She has spread absurd claims that Tyler Boyer, who we just had on the show, sexually abuses male interns.
Okay, so yes, the SD card thing is unbelievably suspicious. It's not something that you would do. Neither would you just run up onto a grassy knoll and record yourself. Again, these are unusual actions, and rather than trying to pretend like it's normal to record a selfie video of yourself and to prematurely announce that somebody is dead, maybe you should answer why all of that took place, because you guys told verifiable lies about why that took place. Because don't forget, Andrew Colvett sat next to you and said it was because people were stealing. If people were stealing, you probably would want to grab the very expensive cameras and not the SD card for an event that was being live streamed. Regarding Tyler Boyer, I'm so glad we're going to do this live streamed, because I'm happy to present to you the exact name of the intern. And I didn't say that he abused him. I didn't say it was not consensual. I said that he likes younger boys. I don't mean like younger as in they're not of the legal age. I'm just saying they're a lot younger than him. And yeah, I can give you the exact name of the intern that he hooked up with. That person was not at Turning Point USA. But I can also give you more than that, as well as people that are currently working for Turning Point USA who said that Tyler Boyer, and these are young men, tried to hook up with them after some events. So,
and is this man supposed to be Christian? If you if you operate in these areas, if you are a practicing gay, that you are practicing sexual immorality, right? You therefore cannot be following the rules that are set off by God. Can we just, and this guy is, if I understand correctly, is working for Turning Point USA, which is a pro-Christian conservative organization. Something doesn't smell right with a lot of things, including with Charlie Kirk USA. I don't want to badmouth somebody that's passed away. That's not my intention. My point is that the CEO of any organization is the ultimate authority. The CEO sets the agenda, sets the culture, makes sure that people are operating with the best versions of themselves. Now, I'm not saying that Charlie Kirk should not have employed someone that's homosexual or somebody that's of any other character, because we're supposed to love each other no matter what our insecurities are, no matter what our issues are. But we're also supposed to help guide people towards the right direction. But if this leading person is then having sexual relationships with other men, it just doesn't seem right. All right, let's continue.
I'm glad we're going to live stream that. Keep going.
She has suggested that TPUSA faith-affiliated pastors, like theologian Frank Turek, who we'll have on in a moment, and Pastor Rob McCoy, are part of a military, quote, infiltration of Turning Point, either because they are veterans or because they have family members who are.
Yeah, so I do believe the Calvary Chapel, their history with Chuck Smith, the evidence that it was a militant CIA effort to infiltrate the Christian faith, and to tie the Christian faith to the political ideology of Zionism. I think there's a lot of evidence for that, and I'm happy to discuss that in a broader debate. I do think that things at Turning Point USA became a bit problematic when you started to, I would say, almost hijack genuine Christian faith and sort of roll it into this idea that you must support Israel in order to be a Christian. That's kind of floating into more opinion, but I think well backed by the facts of the founding of the Calvary Chapel Church during the decade of the 60s, where the CIA was really just spiking the ball on Christians in general. Let's keep going.
Even if not everyone has been named specifically, though, Candace has effectively tarred everyone here with complicity in Charlie's death by repeatedly saying he was, quote, betrayed by, quote, everyone.
Sorry, that was a dream that I had. And it is also a realization that it has been months. People at Turning Point USA are in possession of text messages and the day before Charlie died, in which he wrote out to you, and not just to people that work at Turning Point USA, but also security guards, that he thought that they were going to kill him tomorrow, explicitly. I find it highly unusual that you wouldn't share that information at all, or that you would sit by and be quiet, or at some points attack people that are trying to explore who they is, because I don't think anybody believes that Charlie thought that a trans furry kid who had never been on UVU's campus was going to kill him tomorrow. And you're silent during moments when people are lying, like Josh Hammer, when he said, hey, this never happened, Charlie never blinked on Israel, makes you all look very, very suspicious. Lies are only necessary, okay, when you are covering something. And if you are covering the truth, you are betraying Charlie. So I stand by that. Let's keep going.
She has said Charlie's murder, quote, had to be approved by Charlie's friends, and then suggested those friends might have her murdered too for, quote, knowing the truth.
So you notice that's like a Snopes tactic. When he says the quote, it's actually not a full quotation. I never said that, obviously, in the context that he put it in, that Charlie's friends, quote, had to know he was going to be murdered. Did I say the sentence had to know he was going to be murdered? Perhaps, but we're going to need to hear the full sentence because you're trying to context it in a way that is just untrue. And I don't think it's necessary. If you're willing to have a conversation that you need to lie about anything that I've said, people have watched the show. They know exactly what I've said. And I tend to stand by what I've said. And I do stand by everything that I've said. Keep going.
Okay, so you can all go over and watch that on Candice's live stream. I just thought that was very interesting. But more importantly, DC, Daily COVID, he's doing a full investigation. He's watching every single video of Candice on the matter of Charlie Kirk, and he's then going to come back and have a different or same opinion. We don't know, but I think we should have him back on and see what information he's picked up from watching the videos. What I don't like doing is having people just come along and sharing their opinion, because opinions are like arseholes. Everybody has one, and everybody wants to share their opinion. So I've had enough of all that, and I think it's best to have people who have some kind of knowledge, some kind of speciality to come on and share the information. And going forward, that's what I want to do anyway. It's all fair and dandy talking about politics and, you know, talking about investments and stuff like that. What are you actually gaining? Those of you that listen to this channel or watch the Money Cinder videos and the Money Cinder, you know, what actually are you gaining? Am I helping you become more prosperous? Are the guests that come on telling you techniques on how to live a better life, to make more money, to get you know, to get a promotion if you work? Is there anyone coming along telling you how to live the healthiest life that you have? Do you have health issues? Has somebody said something that allowed you to go from having a limp into being able to run a marathon? No, none of that. So you've got to think like, you know, I'm certainly thinking like, how is it that I can help everybody? Because that's what it comes down to. If you want to know what real happiness is, happiness comes from helping people and seeing the results. Every time I've helped somebody and I've seen the results, whether it's one person or it's a family or it's whoever, it is a very, very powerful feeling, and I love it. So even on my Discord channel, I've made some changes. I've created 3 folders. They are titled number 1, Meet God, number 2, Become Rich, number 3, Be Super Healthy. Because as far as I'm concerned, those 3 things are generally the most important things to anybody. Being able to know God, being able to live a prosperous or rewarding life. Remember, prosperous, rewarding is different to money. You don't have to be rich to live a prosperous, rewarding life. Some people will need to, that's their goal. And being healthy. So me and the others in that channel are going to help anybody that wants that type of information or wants some guidance, or sorry, not guidance, wants some ideas. I'm adding more information to those folders every single day, and it's free. The information is free. No one's going to charge you for it. No one's going to ask for your email address, subscription, or anything like that. If you're interested, create a Discord account and come over to my Discord channel. Maybe I'll post a link once I finish the live stream. I'll post it in the comments below. Because otherwise, if you're not gaining financially, morally, spiritually, either one of those or all 3, what's the point? You're just wasting your time. And quite rightly, as Jordan is saying, seek God first. I did it the wrong way around originally. I went around trying to become the best at the financial markets, investments and business as possible. And now I went back and I did it the right way. And I feel solid. I feel absolutely fantastic. I know my focus. I know my objectives. I know what I'm trying to do. And you could say, well, why did you know that before if you had success? It's not the same. The fulfillment and the reward you get when you are working for the greater good, for the will of God, is beyond comprehension. It is beyond comprehension, and I want everybody to at least try and understand that. That's my objective. I want people to try and understand that, and I want to try and see if I can give and share my experience. In the Meet God folder of the Discord channel, we already had DC share his route to how he met God. We've got Jordan, who's in the chat, who's going to be doing the same. I'm going to be doing the same. Miss Piggy, who's a regular on this channel, is going to be doing the same. These are 4 very powerful testimonies. Each one will show you how we did it and how we had life-changing events. I was sucked out of reality by God. It felt as if, remember the old Star Trek programs where they used to get beamed up within like 3 seconds? That's how it was for me. I was like, what? Me? So, yeah. And I think everybody that doesn't have a community, a local community, a strong bond community, can certainly have that with the Discord community that we're building. And like I said, it's completely free of charge. You don't even need to share an email address or all the other shenanigans that you have to do with other things. But it's a live project. It's being built as we speak. All right, next video. I haven't watched this. I don't know what she's going to say. I just shortlisted it before I came on because I knew I wanted to share the other information. So as I drink my herbal tea, I'm going to play this and we can discuss it. If anybody wants to come on and share their views, let me know.
Don't have any proof that the Macrons were involved. I am simply telling you what happened and why people have speculated that the Macrons may have been behind it, okay? And before I go any further, I want everyone to know I know how to swim. I don't do rugs, okay? I don't sniff, I don't inject. I love doing YouTube, and I look forward to doing it until I am 125 years old, okay? If something happens to me and they try to tell you that I did it to myself, no, the fuck I didn't, okay? Ce n'était pas moi, okay? Just so we're all on the same page. Now let's get into the first story. Around 12:30 p.m. on Sunday, March 6, 20...
Before we continue, one important point to remember is whether or not you are pro Candice theories or against Candice, what we do have to remember that on this side, we are talking about the leaders of France. Now, whether or not Candice and the others are big YouTubers or podcasters, they're still not a leader of an entire G8 nation that has significant power. So I do find it difficult why those two individuals would bother with this. However, as we've seen with Charlie Kirk, who is on the same level of fame as Candace Owens, he was taken out with military kind of operation style, whatever. So there are powerful people who are willing to get their hands dirty to this level.
2022, a walker spotted the body of a woman on the rocks near the Rance Tidal Power Station. The body was of a 55-year-old woman named Isabel Ferreira. According to the medical examiner, water was found in her lungs, indicating that she had drowned. Investigators said there was no evidence of third-party involvement, and so they ultimately ruled the case an accident or side. In her pocket was a train ticket dated from the previous day, a hotel key card, and some cash. The hotel key card belonged to the Mercure Hotel in St. Malo. Investigators quickly called the hotel and confirmed that a guest had left all her belongings in her room. Among Isabel's belongings, investigators found her suitcase, a backpack, sleeping pills, and her cell phone. Investigators then retraced Isabel's steps by reviewing CCTV footage. They uncovered that the previous day, March 5th, 2022, around 10 a.m., Isabel appeared alone on CCTV footage at Montparnasse train station. There, she bought a train ticket to St. Malo. At 1:30 p.m., she is captured on CCTV footage alone at a Monoprix store, and cameras later catch her boarding the train to St. Malo. At 4:18 p.m., cameras captured Isabel arriving in St. Malo, and at 5:11 p.m., cameras captured her in a pharmacy where she purchased medication, including sleeping pills. She then went to a bar for an hour, and according to the manager, Isabel appeared to be under the influence. At 6:47 p.m., she arrived alone with her luggage at the Mercure Hotel, and at 7:05 p.m., she disappeared, and her body was found the following day. According to Isabel's family, she had traveled several hours from Paris to St. Malo to meet with a journalist. Isabel was politically active in Paris. She even appeared in a music video for a song about the ups and downs of life in Paris, and Isabel was a member of the Gilets Jaunes movement in France, a movement made up of French citizens who were rebelling against government legislation that penalized the working class while ignoring wealthy elites. According to Isabel's friends and family, she had been investigating the Macrons and was the first to discover that not only had Brigitte lied about her age, but given that the statute of limitations had recently changed, Brigitte could have still been prosecuted for her inappropriate relationship with Emmanuel Macron when she was his school teacher. Here is Isabel's social media post from January 2022, translated to English. Quote, "I've just discovered something huge. The statute of limitations changed with the Chiapa law of 2018, and she can now be accused up until Macron is 48 years old. He turned 44 on December 21st. A delegation of yellow vests, or the Gilets Jaunes, needs to formally write to the prosecutor with the media and the whole commotion to force them to open an investigation. The headmaster of the Jesuit high school Lycée de la Providence in Amiens had the obligation to notify the prosecutor according to Article 40 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, but he did not do so, and Macron's parents boast of not having filed a complaint despite the law. In addition to discovering that Brigitte lied about her age, it is alleged that Isabel had additional information that she planned on sharing with a journalist, information about the Jean-Michel Trogneux affair. Investigators say that her phone records showed that she had been in contact with several other members of the Gilets Jaunes, but investigators claim they found no journalist phone numbers on the device. The media had reported that Isabel was bipolar and was receiving social assistance from the government, implying that she was homeless, but people who knew her disputed this. Not only do they say that she wasn't dealing with mental health issues, they say she wasn't receiving social assistance and point out that investigators found 80,000 euros cash in her home. Another noteworthy detail is the fact that a presidential election was just around the corner. Isabel's body was found in early March of 2022, and the French presidential election took place a month later, in April of 2022.
Oh my God, I have no idea whether that's true or not, but gosh, that is some crazy information.
Coincidence, I'm sure. If Isabel did truly have damning information, this could have affected Emmanuel Macron's re-election campaign. So that, in theory, is a huge motive for the Macrons to have silenced Isabel. And the circumstances are just so suspicious, it's hard not to speculate. Why would a woman travel several hours by train with her belongings?
Yeah, we know it's speculation, but that's the thing. We need, if you're going to make these assumptions, then you have to.
Something else I want to point out is the place where Isabel's body was found. It was about a 1 hour and 20-minute walk away from the hotel that she had checked into. So there should be more footage of her after 7 p.m. Whether she walked or took public transportation, there should be more information about what happened to her during that time, because she was found pretty far away from the hotel. but I couldn't find any information about her whereabouts. They say that she just magically disappeared like your left sock in the dryer. No one knows what happened to it. The next mysterious death is a very interesting one because this isn't just a blue-collar worker questioning the Macrons. This was a prominent politician in France, a man named Olivier Marleix. Olivier first entered politics when he was elected mayor of Annette in 2008. He would eventually go on to become the president of the Republicans group in the National Assembly, where he served from June 2022 to July 2024. After his tenure as president of the Assembly, he remained a member of the National Assembly up until his death on July 7th, 2025. So that was pretty recently, just a few months ago. And July also happens to be the same month that the Macrons filed their lawsuit against Candace Owens. They were very busy in July, allegedly. So what happened and why do people think the Macrons were behind it? Let me give you a little bit of context. We have to rewind back to 2014. It's a little complicated, but I'm going to try to simplify it, okay? This is French politics for dummies. So back in 2014, Emmanuel Macron was not the French president. He was the Minister of the Economy. And back in 2014, a major French industrial company called Alstom had sold its energy division to General Electric, which is an American company. And this was a huge deal because this energy division that was being sold included very important technology, including turbines for France's nuclear submarines, meaning this wasn't just a business deal. This was a matter of national security. And Emmanuel Macron approved and facilitated the sale. This was a huge controversy in France because Emmanuel Macron allowed a strategic French asset, which was very important to the French military, to fall into the control of America, serving America's interest over France.
Is he crazy or is that just the way he acts?
Olivier Marleix wasn't too happy about this, and in 2017 he led a parliamentary investigation into this transaction because he believed Emmanuel Macron personally benefited from the transaction. In 2019, Olivier formally referred the matter to the prosecutor's office. Olivier alleged that the private interests that benefited from the Alstom transaction were the same private interests who financed Emmanuel Macron's presidential campaign. In case you're wondering, the prosecutors ultimately concluded their investigation by saying that Emmanuel did nothing wrong. This feud between Emmanuel and Olivier was substantial, and in 2025, right before his death, Olivier Marleix had been working on a book in which he would be discussing the Alstom affair. And he never got to see his book be published because on July 7, 2025, a few days after he sent a draft of his book to the publisher, he was found dead in his home. There was a rope, do you catch my drift? And investigators say that he did it to himself. Of course they said that. Everyone who knew Olivier was shocked. None of them saw any signs that he was dealing with mental health issues, and apparently he didn't leave behind a note. Olivier's book was still published following his passing. However, it's hard to know if parts of the book had been changed from what he had originally intended to publish. Remember how I said that the Macrons had a very busy July, allegedly, okay, allegedly? Well, I lied, okay? They actually had a very busy summer. Allegedly. A month before Olivier was found unalived in his home, another prominent individual was discovered unalived at his home. Eric Denace was a French intelligence specialist, author, and former operative known for his analysis of espionage, military strategy, and political influence networks. In the year 2000, he founded the French Center for Intelligence Research, which is a think tank that brings together intelligence researchers. Eric often made appearances in French media and was very outspoken against the Macron administration's foreign policy. He was critical of NATO's provocation of Russia, which ultimately instigated the Ukraine war. He was critical of Bibi's provocation of Iran to engage them in war, and he was critical of Emmanuel Macron siding with Western influences to the detriment of France. He was especially critical of Emmanuel Macron's involvement in the Alstom affair, and he too investigated it and wrote a report on it. On June 11, 2025, Eric's sister went to his home. Eric had not been in contact with anyone for days. She knocked on the door, no answer. She approached his car and found her brother slumped in the driver's seat, his life gone. According to investigators, he had been in the car deceased for 2 days. They also found a hunting rifle, fingerprints around the car, traces of gunpowder on Eric's hands, and a bullet wound on his head. The official story is that Eric did this to himself, but his friends, family, and followers don't believe it. Eric had been making short-term and long-term plans, and he didn't show any signs that he would do this. And it has been reported that there were no fingerprints found on the weapon, despite the fact that he wasn't wearing gloves. Many people speculate that the reason he was taken out is because he was oppositional to Emmanuel Macron. But Eric is not the only French intelligence officer to be found unalived by an apparent self-inflicted unaliving. Between January 1st and June 3rd of 2025, so this year, the first 5 months of this year, 10 national police officers were found unalive. 3 of those individuals worked for French intelligence, and 2 of those French intelligence officers were found unalived on the premises of the French intelligence headquarters.
That's suspicious.
Wow, that's a lot of information. As kind of weird as all that sounds and criminating, it's no information that's actually been shared that links anything to the Macrons, or I mean, yeah, they were in power by the sounds of it while all this happened, but it doesn't necessarily tie back to them. Governments kill their own citizens, we know that. Governments conduct false flags, fake terrorists, well, they're actual terrorist attacks, but conducted by governments. That's why it's called a self-wound or a false flag. So, we know governments do that, including Western governments. However, there's very little, well, she hasn't showed any information linking it back to them, but would there be information linking it back if it was them?
That's weird.
It's highly suspicious that so many intelligence officers ended up like this in such close timing of each other. It seems like they knew something that maybe they weren't supposed to know. But the question is what? There is no evidence that the Macrons were involved in any way, but why would there be? Anyways, that is all I have for this video. If you liked it, please don't forget to hit the like.
Alright, that is pretty much all the information I wanted to share. I hope you enjoyed that. I will be back tomorrow. Maybe I shall open up the panel if anybody wants to jump on. Thank you very much, everybody watching, listening, sharing. If you can, just extend your digit finger and press the like button on the way out, so other people are able to share this information or see this information as well. I would greatly appreciate that. And as a small gesture, I'll play you a small video on the way out. See you tomorrow.